They left me bleeding in the snow on my 18th birthday, the day I was supposed to shift for the first time. Instead, I discovered something far more dangerous than claws and fangs. I discovered I had nothing left to lose. The wolfsbane hit my system like liquid fire. I'd been stupid enough to accept the drink from Sienna Blackthorne herself, her perfect smile gleaming under the fairy light strung across the Silvercrest Academy courtyard. The Lunar Awakening celebration was in full swing, and I'd actually believed, for one idiotic moment, that maybe tonight would be different. That on the night when 18-year-olds experienced their first shift, the torment might stop. To new beginnings, Sienna had said, pressing the crystal cup into my hands. I should have known better. 6 years of hell should have taught me better. The courtyard erupted in laughter as I dropped to my knees, the cup shattering beside me. Around me, other Omegas were shifting, painful, yes, but successful. Bones cracking, reshaping. Fur sprouting. The sweet scent of pine and earth as their wolves emerged for the first time. Mine felt like dying. Oh my God, look at her, someone shrieked. My spine arched, vertebrae grinding against each other in ways that defied nature. My fingers elongated into claws, but my arms remained human. Fur rippled across my skin in patches, my face stretching into something caught between girl and wolf, neither one thing nor the other. A monster. Are you getting this? Darius's voice cut through my screams. Sienna's boyfriend, all 6'3" of beta arrogance, had his phone out. The flash blinded me as I convulsed on the ground. Every second, Sienna cooed. This is going to break the internet. Through the haze of agony, I saw her, Maya, my only friend, pushing through the crowd. Her dark eyes were wide with horror. Luna. She dropped beside me, her hands hovering over my twisted form, afraid to touch and make it worse. Someone help her. She needs the healers. Darius grabbed Maya by her hair, yanking her back. Touch the freak again, and you'll be Omega trash too. Got it? Maya's face crumpled, but she didn't fight him. Nobody ever fought them. My shift reversed partially, bones grinding back into human shape, but wrong. So wrong. I was stuck, trapped between forms in a way that shouldn't be possible. Every nerve ending in my body screamed. The crowd's laughter followed me as I crawled. Away from the lights, away from their phones, away from their faces. My hands left bloody prints in the fresh snow. I made it to the back of the school building before my strength gave out. The Silvercrest Mountains loomed in the distance, indifferent to my pain. The full moon hung overhead, mocking me with its beauty. I'd dreamed of this night. Every Omega did. Your first shift was supposed to be magical, a awakening of your true self. Instead, I was dying in the snow while they posted my humiliation online with the hashtag #OmegaFreak. My phone buzzed in my jacket pocket, still human enough to have kept my clothes, at least. Notifications flooded the screen. The video already had hundreds of views, dozens of comments. Looks like a reject even in wolf form. How is that thing still alive? Silvercrest doesn't need broken Omegas. Put it down. I let the phone fall into the snow. The cold was starting to feel good. Numbing. Maybe if I just stayed here, it would all stop. The pain, the humiliation, the endless years of being treated like I was less than nothing. My mother had died giving birth to me. My father had drunk himself to death when I was 12. The pack had taken me in out of obligation, not kindness. And they'd never let me forget it. What was the point of surviving this? Footsteps crunched in the snow behind me. I didn't turn. Didn't have the strength. If it was Sienna coming to finish the job, I couldn't even care anymore. Luna Ashwood. The voice was neither male nor female, distorted somehow. Ancient. A figure in a dark hooded cloak knelt beside me. I caught only a glimpse of pale skin and eyes that reflected the moonlight like mirrors. Please, I managed, my voice raw. Just let me. Cold fingers pressed something into my palm. A medallion, silver and heavier than it looked, carved with symbols I didn't recognize. The metal burned against my skin, but I couldn't drop it. My fingers had locked around it. The figure leaned close, and I smelled something wild and old, predatory in a way that made even my broken wolf whimper in recognition. Your bloodline was never meant to kneel, they whispered. They should have let you die. What? I tried to focus on their face, but the hood shadowed everything. Who are you? But they were already standing, already backing away into the darkness between buildings. In seconds, they'd vanished completely, as if they'd never been there at all. The medallion pulsed with heat. Then it erupted. Silver light blazed from the carved symbols, racing up my arm like lightning through my veins. I screamed, but this pain was different. This pain had purpose. My spine cracked again, but this time, it was right. My bones shifted with sudden certainty, my muscles rippling into new configurations. Fur exploded across my skin, thick and silver white, none of the patchy wrongness from before. The transformation completed in seconds. I stood on 4 legs, stronger than I'd ever felt. My senses sharpened until I could hear heartbeats in the building, could smell fear and excitement and arousal mixing with alcohol and perfume. Could taste the snowflakes on my tongue and distinguish between the individual scents of 30 different wolves inside. But something was wrong. I looked down at my reflection in a half-frozen puddle and my breath caught. My eyes glowed crimson. Not gold like every other wolf in the pack. Not even the amber of alphas or the silver of betas. Red. Like fresh blood under moonlight. Laughter echoed from inside the building, Sienna's laugh, high and cruel. They were probably still watching the video, still celebrating my destruction. The medallion hung around my neck now, the chain having appeared with my shift. It still burned with that strange energy, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. Your bloodline was never meant to kneel. What did that mean? I was nobody. Omega trash from a dead bloodline, not even important enough to have a family name that mattered. But as I stood there in the snow, no longer broken, no longer weak, something shifted inside me that had nothing to do with bones and fur. They'd tried to destroy me tonight. Had dosed me with wolfsbane, filmed my agony, left me to die in the cold. And I had survived. More than survived. I'd become something none of them had ever seen before. Something with eyes that burned red and a power I could feel coiling in my chest like a living thing. I looked toward the building, toward the warm lights and the music and the people who'd made my life hell. I had nothing left to lose. And that made me more dangerous than any of them could possibly imagine. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. I should have stayed in the woods. That's what I thought as I stood in the back row of the auditorium, wedged between 2 she-wolves who'd made a point of stepping away from me the moment I arrived. The silver medallion hung beneath my shirt, still warm against my skin, hidden but present. Always present. 3 days had passed since the lunar awakening. 3 days since my eyes had burned crimson and everything had changed. I'd shifted back to human form that night, stumbling to my dorm room before anyone could see what I'd become. The medallion had cooled, my eyes had returned to their normal gray, and I'd convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing. Trauma-induced hallucination. The wolfsbane making me see things that weren't real. But the medallion was real. The stranger's words echoed in my head every time I closed my eyes. Your bloodline was never meant to kneel. Maya had found me the next morning, bringing stolen medical supplies and asking questions I couldn't answer. The video had gone viral across PAC's social media. Omega Freak was trending. But I was alive, and that seemed to confuse everyone who'd left me to die. Silence. Dean Blackthorn's voice boomed across the auditorium. Sienna's father, all alpha posturing and silver-streaked hair. We have a distinguished visitor today. One who requires your absolute respect and attention. The whispers started immediately. Silvercrest Academy didn't get visitors. We were too far north, too isolated in the mountains. The only wolves who came here were the ones sent by their packs, either for education or because their families wanted them gone. By order of the Continental Pack Council, Dean Blackthorn continued, "We are honored to host Alpha King Thorn Nightshade." The silence that followed was absolute. I'd heard of Thorn Nightshade. Every wolf on the continent had. He'd taken control of the Northern Territory 5 years ago after challenging the previous Alpha King and ripping out his throat in front of the entire council. He was 32 and ruled with the kind of ruthlessness that made even seasoned alphas nervous. The stories said he'd executed an entire pack for treason. Every single member, from the alpha down to the children. No mercy. No exceptions. "He's here to evaluate our academy," the dean said, and I caught the slight tremor in his voice. Fear. Any disrespect will be treated as an offense against the crown itself. The side doors opened. He walked in flanked by 4 guards, all betas built like tanks, all wearing the black and silver of the royal pack. But I barely noticed them. Thorn Nightshade commanded attention the way fire commanded oxygen. He was tall, easily 6'5", with broad shoulders that strained against his tailored black jacket. His hair was dark as midnight, swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that looked capable of breaking stone, and eyes. God, his eyes. Even from the back row, I could see they were gold. Not the normal gold of average alphas, but molten gold, burning with an intensity that made my wolf stir uneasily in my chest. Alpha King Nightshade, Dean Blackthorn bowed so low his forehead nearly touched his knees. "Silvercrest Academy is honored." Thorn held up one hand. The dean's words died mid-sentence. "I'm not here for pleasantries." His voice was deep, carrying easily across the auditorium. "The Continental Council has received disturbing reports about this academy. Corrupted Omega bloodlines. Unauthorized wolfsbane usage. Students dying during their first shifts." My stomach dropped. Someone had reported what happened to me. "I assure you, Alpha King, any rumors are greatly exaggerated," Dean Blackthorn started. "I'll determine that myself." Thorn's gaze swept across the assembled students. I tried to make myself smaller. Invisible. I'd gotten good at that over the years. Just another Omega in the back, not worth noticing, not worth. His eyes locked onto mine. The world stopped. I felt it like a physical blow, the weight of his attention, the intensity of his focus. Those golden eyes pinned me in place, and I couldn't look away even though every instinct screamed at me to run. His nostrils flared. His entire body went rigid. And then I felt it. A psychic tremor that rolled through the auditorium like an earthquake, making every shifter gasp and clutch their heads. The force of it drove some wolves to their knees. Mate. The word reverberated through my skull, through my bones, through every cell in my body. Not spoken aloud, broadcast directly into the psychic network that connected all wolves in proximity. His wolf had roared it so loudly that everyone had felt it. The auditorium erupted in chaos. Gasps, whispers, shocked faces turning to stare at me. I felt their eyes like brands. But I felt nothing else. No mate bond. No pull toward him. No sense of completion or recognition or any of the things every Omega was raised to expect when they met their mate. My wolf, who'd been quiet since the night I'd shifted, suddenly surged forward with a hostility that made me stumble. A snarl built in my throat, human throat, and I had to clench my jaw to keep it contained. She didn't want him. She wanted to fight him. Thorn was moving, pushing past the dean, striding down the center aisle. Students pressed themselves against their seats to get out of his way. His eyes never left mine. "No," I whispered. Maya grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. "Luna, what?" "It's a mistake." My voice came out strangled. "It has to be a mistake." But he kept coming, and the auditorium kept staring, and I could see Sienna in the front row with an expression of such pure hatred that it made the hair on my arm stand up. Thorn stopped 5 feet away. This close, he was overwhelming. Not just his size, but the power that radiated from him like heat. Alpha pheromones flooded the air, making the other omegas whimper with the instinctive need to submit. I didn't feel that either. I felt angry. Your name, he demanded. Luna Ashwood. I lifted my chin, meeting his eyes even though it went against every omega instinct. And I'm not your mate. Shocked gasps rippled through the crowd. You didn't contradict an alpha king. You especially didn't contradict him when he just publicly claimed you. Something flickered in Thorne's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. My wolf says otherwise. Then your wolf is wrong. The temperature in the auditorium seemed to drop 10 degrees. Thorne's guards shifted, hands moving toward weapons. Dean Blackthorne looked like he might faint. But Thorne just studied me, his head tilting slightly. You don't feel the bond. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. No. Impossible, someone muttered. The Alpha King doesn't make mistakes. She must be defective, another voice added. Did you see the video? She couldn't even shift properly. Maybe she's not really Omega, Sienna called out, her voice dripping with false concern. Maybe she's something else. Something wrong. The whispers grew louder, more vicious. I'd been here before, standing alone while they tore me apart with words. But this time felt different. This time felt dangerous. Thorne's gaze shifted to Sienna, and she actually flinched. Good. You will not speak about my mate that way, he said quietly. The threat in his voice was unmistakable. I'm not, I started. You are. He turned back to me. Whether you feel it or not, the bond exists. My wolf has never been wrong. First time for everything, I shot back. Maya made a sound like a strangled cat. Around us, students were pulling out phones, recording every second. This was going to be everywhere by nightfall. Luna Ashwood will be moved into the Alpha Wing immediately, Thorne announced, addressing Dean Blackthorne without taking his eyes off me. She'll be under my protection until we determine why the bond isn't manifesting properly. No. The word came out harder than I intended. I don't need your protection. I don't want your protection. It's not optional. Like hell it isn't. I stepped back, putting space between us. I've survived this place for 6 years without anyone's help. I don't need a mate I don't want swooping in to save me now. The auditorium went completely silent. Even the guards looked shocked. No one rejected the Alpha King. No one humiliated the most powerful wolf on the continent in front of hundreds of witnesses. But I'd meant what I'd said in the snow 3 nights ago. I had nothing left to lose. Thorne's expression was unreadable. For a long moment, he just watched me, and I couldn't tell if he was going to laugh or kill me. Finally, he smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. You're either very brave or very stupid, Luna Ashwood. Probably both, I admitted. This isn't over. Yes, it is. I turned and walked out of the auditorium, feeling every single eye on my back. My hands were shaking, adrenaline flooding my system, but I kept my spine straight and my pace steady. I made it to the hallway before Maya caught up with me. Are you insane? She grabbed my arm, spinning me around. That was the Alpha King. He could have you executed for that. He won't. I didn't know where the certainty came from, but I felt it. He's too intrigued. Intrigued? Luna, you just publicly rejected. He'll get over it. I pulled free, heading toward the back stairs. He'll realize it's a mistake and move on. End of story. You really don't feel anything? Maya's voice was quieter now, worried. Nothing at all? I thought about lying. It would be easier. But this was Maya, who'd been my only friend when everyone else had treated me like garbage. I feel angry, I said finally. My wolf wants to rip his throat out. Maya's eyes widened. That's not normal. Yeah, well. I touched the medallion through my shirt. I stopped being normal 3 days ago. I didn't go to classes. Didn't go back to my dorm. Instead, I walked into the woods behind the academy, following a trail I'd discovered years ago. A small clearing where I could breathe, where I could think without hundreds of eyes judging my every move. The medallion had grown warm again, pulsing against my skin. I pulled it out, studying the symbols carved into the silver. They seemed to shift in the afternoon light, rearranging themselves into patterns I almost recognized but couldn't quite grasp. Your bloodline was never meant to kneel. What bloodline? My parents had been nobody. Omega farmers from a small pack in the south. They'd had no special abilities, no notable history. They'd just been ordinary. So why did an Alpha King's wolf claim me as a mate when I felt nothing? Why did my eyes burn red when I shifted? Why did this medallion exist, and who was the stranger who'd given it to me? Too many questions, I muttered, tucking the medallion back under my shirt. I should have known better than to stay out after dark. But I'd lost track of time, and by the time I headed back toward the academy, the sun had set and the moon was rising. They were waiting for me at the tree line. Sienna stood in the center of the group, 10 of them, all her loyal followers, all wearing matching smirks. Darius loomed behind her, cracking his knuckles. Well, Sienna purred. The Alpha King's precious mate. Out here all alone. I stopped, calculating distances. Too many to fight. Too far from help. Get out of my way, Sienna. Or what? You'll tell your mate? She laughed, and the others joined in. Oh wait, you rejected him. In front of everyone. So I guess that means you're fair game again. The Alpha King still claimed her, one of the girls said nervously. If we hurt her. We're not going to hurt her, Sienna said sweetly. We're just going to teach her a lesson about using dark magic to trap powerful men. I didn't use magic. Sure you didn't. That's why you couldn't shift properly during the awakening. That's why your eyes are the wrong color. Sienna stepped closer. We've been doing research, freak. Omegas don't have psychic abilities. They don't have red eyes. They don't reject Alpha Kings. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? We know what you are, Darius growled. Witch. Demon. Whatever dark thing crawled out of the woods and took over Luna Ashwood's body. You're insane. Prove it. Sienna held up her phone. Shift for us. Right now. Let us see those pretty gray eyes of yours in wolf form. I couldn't. If I shifted, they'd see the red. They'd know something was wrong. And if they had proof. That's what I thought. Sienna's smile widened. You can't, can you? Because you're not really a wolf. You're something else. Something that needs to be eliminated before you corrupt our king. They moved as one, circling me. I backed up until I hit a tree, my mind racing through options. Fight. Run. Scream. None of them would work. Darius pulled something from his jacket. A silver knife, the blade etched with symbols I recognized from old pack lore. Symbols meant to kill dark creatures. Elder Morgana is going to be attacked tonight, Sienna said conversationally. Dark magic. Everyone will see the evidence, traces of the same power that corrupted you. And they'll find you standing over her body. You're going to frame me, I breathed. We're going to save the pack from a monster. She nodded at Darius. Make sure she can't shift. We need her weak for this to work. The knife flashed toward my throat. I grabbed Darius's wrist without thinking, my fingers wrapping around skin and bone. And the world exploded. Images flooded my mind. Memories. Not mine. His. Sienna telling him the plan. The elder who'd agreed to fake the attack. The poison they'd used to make it look like dark magic. The silver chains they'd prepared to bind me. Every detail of their scheme laid out in perfect clarity. But underneath those recent memories, I felt something else. Something that wasn't his. A presence, dark and ancient, whispering instructions. Kill the girl. She must not awaken. The voice was male, powerful, and utterly inhuman. I gasped, releasing Darius's wrist. He stumbled back, confused. What the hell? I didn't wait. I ran. Behind me, they gave chase, but I knew these woods better than any of them. I'd spent 6 years hiding here, learning every path, every shortcut. I burst into my dorm room, slamming the door and throwing the lock. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. I'd touched him and seen his memories. All of them. Clear as day. The medallion burned against my chest, so hot now that I yanked it out. The symbols were glowing faintly in the darkness. Psychic abilities that shouldn't exist in Omegas. I looked around my small room, at all the belongings of the wolves who'd tormented me. Sienna's hairbrush on her desk. Darius's jacket slung over a chair. Personal items they'd touched, held, lived with. My hand moved before I could stop it, reaching for the hairbrush. The moment my fingers closed around it, Sienna's memories crashed over me like a tidal wave. Not just recent ones, all of them. Years of petty cruelty, calculated bullying, deliberate torture. And underneath it all, that same presence. That same voice. The Ashwood girl must not discover what she is. Kill her before the awakening completes. I saw more. Images of a man I didn't recognize, tall and pale with eyes like mirrors. The stranger from the snow. No, not a stranger. Someone Sienna had been warned about. Someone the voice called traitor with such venom that it made Sienna's wolf whimper in fear. He gave her the medallion. He's trying to awaken her bloodline. Stop him. Stop her. The vision fractured, and I was back in my room, gasping for air. Someone was pulling the strings. Someone powerful enough to whisper in the minds of students, to orchestrate attacks, to want me dead before I awakened, whatever that meant. And they knew about the medallion. They knew about my bloodline. A bloodline that was never meant to kneel. I looked at the medallion in my hand, at the symbols that seemed to rearrange themselves with every breath. What the hell was I? And why did someone want me dead so badly that they'd risk framing me for attacking a pack elder? A knock at my door made me jump. Maya's voice came through, low and urgent. Luna, open up. Now. I unlocked the door. Maya pushed inside, her face pale. They're coming, she said. Sienna and at least 20 others. They're saying you attacked Elder Morgana with dark magic. The dean has called for your arrest. I was here the whole time. They have witnesses. Video footage. Evidence. Maya grabbed my shoulders. Luna, they set you up. And the Alpha King. She swallowed hard. He demanded to be the one to execute you personally if you're found guilty. My mate. Who wasn't really my mate. Who I'd publicly humiliated. Who now had the perfect excuse to eliminate the Omega who'd rejected him. Outside, I heard voices. Footsteps. The dean calling my name. I looked at Maya, at the medallion, at the window that led to the woods and the mountains beyond. I'd survived the lunar awakening. I'd survived 6 years of hell. But I wasn't sure I could survive this. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 3. The window was too small. The drop was 3 stories. And I had approximately 60 seconds before Dean Blackthorne broke down my door with half the academy behind him. Maya was already shoving clothes into a bag. The East Tower has scaffolding. If you can make it there. I'm not running. The word surprised me as much as they surprised her. Luna, they're going to lock you up. Execute you. You have to. I didn't do anything wrong. I grabbed the bag from her hands. And I'm tired of running from people who should be afraid of me. Maya's eyes widened. What are you? The door shuddered. Wood cracked. Dean Blackthorn's voice boomed through. Luna Ashwood, you are under arrest by order of the Continental Pack Council for the use of dark magic against pack members. I looked at Maya one last time. Tell them I'm cooperating. Tell them I have nothing to hide. Are you insane? Maybe. Probably. But something had changed in me when I'd touched that hairbrush, when I'd seen Sienna's memories and felt that ancient presence whispering instructions. Running would make me look guilty. Fighting would give them an excuse to kill me. But cooperating? Walking into their trap with my eyes open? That might actually throw them off balance. I unlocked the door. Dean Blackthorn nearly fell through it, his face red with exertion. Behind him stood at least 30 wolves, students, faculty, and 4 of the Alpha King's guards. Their hands rested on silver-lined batons. I'm here, I said calmly. What exactly am I being charged with? The dean's mouth worked soundlessly for a moment. He'd clearly expected me to run. Elder Morgana lies near death, he finally managed. Cursed by dark magic. 3 students have fallen ill with the same wasting sickness. Witnesses place you at the scene. Evidence of your dark practices has been found. What witnesses? What evidence? I kept my voice level. I've been in my room all evening. My roommate can confirm that. Your roommate is Omega trash covering for you. Sienna's voice came from the back of the crowd. She pushed forward, her perfect face arranged in an expression of concern. We all know you've been different since the lunar awakening. Those red eyes. I don't have red eyes. Show us, then. Darius appeared beside her. Shift. Right here, right now. Prove you're not some dark creature. It was a trap. They wanted me to refuse, wanted me to look guilty. Or they wanted me to shift and reveal the crimson. Either way, they won. I started to answer, but a deep voice cut through the crowd. Enough. The wolves parted like water, and Alpha King Thorn strode through. He'd changed into black tactical gear, his hair pulled back, and those molten gold eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. She will be held in custody until a full investigation is completed, he announced. By me personally. Alpha King, with respect, Dean Blackthorn started. Are you questioning my authority, Blackthorn? Thorn's voice dropped to a dangerous purr. The dean's face went white. No, of course not, I just... Then we're done here. Thorn gestured to his guards. Escort Miss Ashwood to the holding cells. No one is to visit her or speak to her without my express permission. 2 guards moved forward. I didn't resist as they flanked me, their hands firm but not brutal on my arms. As they led me past Thorn, our eyes met. I expected anger at my rejection, satisfaction at my arrest, something. Instead, I saw calculation. He was studying me like I was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. Cooperate, he said quietly. And you might survive this. I don't need your help, I replied just as quietly. Something flickered in his expression, that same hint of respect I'd seen in the auditorium. We'll see. The dungeons beneath Silvercrest Academy were older than the school itself, carved into the mountain stone when this had been a fortress during the territorial wars. Silver lined the bars and walls, enough to weaken any shifter and prevent transformation. They locked me in a cell at the far end of the corridor. The guards said nothing as they removed my shoes, less chance of escape that way, and confiscated my bag. One of them reached for the medallion. No. I stepped back, my hand closing around it. Regulations, the guard said. All personal items. Touch it, and you'll lose the hand. I didn't know where the certainty came from, but it was absolute. The medallion pulsed warm against my palm, and for a second, the guard's eyes glazed over. He pulled his hand back like he'd been burned. Leave it, the other guard muttered. It's just jewelry. Won't help her escape. They left, their footsteps echoing up the stone stairs. I was alone in the dark. Not quite alone, I realized after a moment. There were other cells down here, other shadows shifting in the gloom. How many prisoners did Silvercrest keep hidden away? You must be the one causing all the fuss up there. The voice came from the cell next to mine, female, older, with a raspiness that spoke of years of disuse. I moved to the bars that separated us. In the dim light, I could make out a woman curled on a thin cot. She was ancient, her hair white as snow, her face lined with decades of pain. But her eyes were sharp as she studied me. Luna Ashwood, she said. That's your name, isn't it? I heard the guards talking. Who are you? No one important. Not anymore. She shifted, and I heard chains rattle. They'd bound her with silver. But I knew your grandmother. My breath caught. My grandmother died before I was born. Did she? The old woman smiled, and it was terrifying. Or is that just what they told you? Before I could respond, a sound from the stairs made us both freeze. Footsteps, but lighter than the guards. Deliberate. A figure appeared in the corridor, moving with the ease of someone who belonged here. In the torchlight, I recognized Oren. The elderly groundskeeper who'd worked at the academy since before I arrived. He was human, or so everyone thought, too old and weathered to pose any threat. But the way he moved now suggested otherwise. Oren? I pressed against the bars. What are you doing down here? What I've been doing for 40 years. He produced a key ring, selecting one with practiced ease. Waiting for you. You can't let her out, the old woman hissed. Not yet. She isn't ready. She's never going to be ready if she dies in this cell. Oren unlocked my door with movements that were far too smooth for an elderly human. And they'll kill her, Vera. You know they will. Better dead than awakened too soon. Better. I'm standing right here, I interrupted. Someone want to explain what the hell is going on? Oren stepped into my cell, and in the torchlight, I finally saw his eyes. Not human brown or gray, but silver. Pure silver, like mirrors. Like the stranger who'd given me the medallion. You, I breathed. We don't have much time. He moved closer, his gaze dropping to the medallion around my neck. When I gave you that, I knew it would speed up your awakening. But I didn't expect them to move against you this quickly. You said my bloodline wasn't meant to kneel. What does that mean? It means you're not Omega. Vera spoke from her cell, her voice stronger now. It means you're what they feared most. What they hunted. What they killed. Oren pulled something from his jacket, a book, leather-bound and ancient. He opened it to a marked page, revealing an illustration. A she-wolf, massive and powerful, her eyes burning crimson. Around her throat hung a silver medallion identical to mine. The first Luna, Oren said quietly. 300 years ago, she led a bloodline of female alphas. The Crimson Wolves. They could challenge any male for dominance and win. They could read minds, sense lies, see the future. They were more powerful than any alpha king. I stared at the image. The resemblance was unmistakable, the same silver-white fur I'd seen in my reflection, the same red eyes. That's impossible. I'm Omega. I can barely. You were made Omega, Vera interrupted. Your bloodline was. Dark magic, performed over generations, suppressing your power. Corrupting it. Turning dominant females into submissive ones. Why would anyone? Because they were afraid. Oren's expression was grim. The alpha males of the old packs couldn't stomach the idea of females who were stronger than them. So they hunted the Crimson Wolves. Killed them. And the few who survived were forced to undergo a blood ritual that corrupted their power, twisted it into Omega weakness. The pieces started falling into place. My inability to shift properly. The wolfsbane that had nearly killed me. The medallion that had forced my transformation to complete, but with red eyes instead of gold. The medallion broke the curse, I whispered. Started to break it, Oren corrected. You're awakening, Luna. Slowly reclaiming what was stolen from your bloodline. But it's incomplete. Dangerous. You have abilities you can't control, power you don't understand how to use. That's why she doesn't feel the mate bond, Vera said. She'd moved closer to her cell bars, her silver chains scraping stone. The Alpha King's wolf recognizes what she is, his equal, his true match. But a crimson wolf's bond works differently than normal wolves. How? My voice came out barely a whisper. You have to choose it. Vera's eyes gleamed in the darkness. Consciously, deliberately choose to accept your mate. A crimson wolf never submits, not even to destiny. The bond only forms when you claim your alpha power and decide to share it. That's why Thorn had felt the pull, but I hadn't. His wolf had recognized mine as dominant, as equal. But my wolf was waiting for me to accept my own power first. How do I awaken completely? I looked between them. How do I claim what was stolen? That's the problem. Oren closed the book. The knowledge was lost when the last full crimson wolf was killed. We only have fragments, legends, hints passed down through generations. Vera's a crimson wolf, I said, looking at the old woman. She could. I'm a failed awakening. Vera pulled back her sleeve, revealing scars that covered her arm. Silver burns, deep and old. I tried to break the curse 40 years ago. I got close, so close I could feel the power returning. But they caught me. Cassius Darkwater, Sienna's father, he's been using this place as a laboratory. A cold horror settled in my stomach. Experimenting on Omegas. On any wolf who shows unusual abilities. Vera's voice cracked. Trying to steal our power, to transfer it to himself. He wants to become the first alpha male to wield crimson wolf abilities. Do you know what that would mean? That kind of power combined with that kind of cruelty? How many? I gripped the bars. How many Omegas has he experimented on? Dozens, Oren said grimly. Over the years. Most don't survive. The ones who do end up down here, too broken or dangerous to release. I looked down the dark corridor, at the other cells I'd barely noticed. How many prisoners were hidden down here? How many lives had Cassius destroyed in his quest for power? Where is he now? I asked. In his office, most likely. Planning how to extract your abilities before the Alpha King realizes what you are. Oren moved toward the cell door. That's why we need to get you out. Train you. Teach you to control. No. I stepped back. If I run, I prove them right. And all those other Omegas down here stay prisoners. Luna. Help me awaken, I said. Properly. Completely. Then I'll challenge Cassius myself. You'll die, Vera said flatly. You're not ready. Even if you could awaken fully, Cassius has been absorbing stolen power for years. He's stronger than any normal alpha. Then we make it a fair fight. I touched the medallion. You said this started breaking the curse. What else can it do? Oren and Vera exchanged a look I couldn't read. The seal of the first Luna doesn't just break curses, Oren said slowly. It amplifies Crimson Wolf abilities. Makes them stronger, clearer. But it's also dangerous. Too much power too fast can destroy you from the inside. Or it can save me. I pulled the medallion off, studying the shifting symbols. What do I need to do? You can't, Vera said urgently. Child, listen to me. The awakening process takes months, years. You need training, preparation, guidance. Without it, you'll burn yourself out. Then teach me now. Whatever you can. In one night? Vera laughed, but it was bitter. Impossible. Better than nothing. Footsteps echoed on the stairs. Oren swore, moving toward the door. Guards. Coming for rounds. Hide, I hissed. If they find me here. Then I'll say I pulled you into the cell through the bars. That I was trying to escape. I shoved him toward the shadows. Go. Oren disappeared into the darkness with unnatural speed. Seconds later, 2 guards appeared at my cell. Visitor for you, one said, unlocking the door. My stomach dropped. Who? Alpha King Thorn stepped into view. He'd changed again, this time into more casual clothes, dark jeans and a fitted black shirt that did nothing to hide the muscles beneath. His hair was loose now, falling to his shoulders, and those gold eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my wolf stir. Not with hostility this time. With interest. Out, Thorn ordered the guards. Alpha King, protocol states. Out. Now. They left, their footsteps retreating up the stairs. Thorn stepped into my cell, and the space suddenly felt much smaller. He moved like a predator, all controlled grace and barely leashed power. I've been investigating your case, he said without preamble. Your birth records are falsified. I tried to keep my expression neutral. What? You weren't born to the Silvercrest Pack. You were placed here as a baby, after your entire family was slaughtered in a rogue attack. He pulled out a tablet, showing me documents I'd never seen. At least, that's the official story. But I've spoken to the Alpha who supposedly took you in. His story has holes big enough to drive a truck through. My heart pounded. Why are you telling me this? Because my wolf claims you as a mate, but you feel nothing. He set the tablet aside, moving closer. Because you survived wolfsbane poisoning that should have killed you. Because your eyes turn red when you shift. Yes, I saw the video footage Sienna thought she deleted. Because everything about you is wrong, Luna Ashwood. He was close enough now that I could feel the heat radiating from his body, could smell his scent, pine and winter storms and something wilder underneath. And that intrigues me, he continued quietly. Because I've never met anyone I couldn't figure out. Anyone who could resist the mate bond. Anyone who would dare reject me to my face. Is that what this is? I met his eyes. Your ego can't handle the rejection? My ego has nothing to do with it. His gaze dropped to the medallion, which I'd hastily put back around my neck. But that does. Where did you get it? I found it. Lie. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, his fingers brushed the medallion. The moment he touched it, his eyes widened. This is ancient. Powerful. And it's bonded to you. Don't. Too late. Power surged through the medallion, through me, into him. For a second, our minds connected, not fully, not like the psychic readings I'd done with objects, but enough. I felt his wolf. Massive, dominant, ancient. But underneath the alpha power was something else. Loneliness. Isolation. The weight of ruling alone, of being feared by everyone, trusted by no one. And I felt his recognition of my wolf. Not as lesser, not as Omega. As equal. Thorn gasped, stumbling back. His hand fell away from the medallion. What are you? He breathed. Before I could answer, Vera screamed. I spun toward her cell. She'd fallen from her cot, convulsing, foam at her lips. The silver chains glowed with an unnatural heat. No. I grabbed the bars separating our cells. What's happening? Poison, Vera choked out. Blood trickled from her nose. In the food, they're killing us, all of us. Guards. Thorn's voice boomed. Get a healer down here now. But I could see it was already too late. Vera's eyes were glazing, her breathing turning shallow. Luna, she gasped, reaching toward me. Listen, he's coming for you, the one who killed us all. Who? Vera, who? He's in this pack, hiding, waiting. Her back arched, her body seizing. The Alpha. Cassius, he's not. Her eyes rolled back. One last rattling breath, and she went still. Silence filled the dungeon. I stood frozen, staring at the body of a woman I'd known for less than an hour. A crimson wolf, the last connection to my heritage, gone. She was murdered, I said quietly. Yes. Thorne's voice was hard. And whoever did it wanted to make sure she couldn't tell you something. I looked at him. About Cassius Darkwater. What about him? He's been experimenting on Omegas. Trying to steal their power. And Vera was about to tell me something about him before I gestured at her body. Thorne's expression went dark. If he's compromised the integrity of this academy, he's done worse than that. I made a decision. I need to show you something. But you have to promise me you won't interfere. Not yet. I don't make promises to people I don't trust. Then trust your wolf. I met his eyes. You said it recognized me as your mate. That means it trusts me, even if you don't. For a long moment, he studied me. Then, slowly, he nodded. Show me. I turned toward the dark corridor, toward the other cells I'd barely noticed. How many prisoners are supposed to be down here? According to the records? 3, including you. Then you should probably see this. I called out into the darkness. It's okay. You can show yourselves now. One by one, shadows moved. Figures emerged from cells I'd thought were empty. Omegas, maybe 15 of them, all in various states of injury and decay. Some had scars like Vera's. Others were missing limbs. One girl couldn't have been more than 16, and her eyes were completely white. They'd all been experimented on. All been broken and discarded. All been erased from the records. Thorne's growl was low and deadly. Blackthorn knows about this. Blackthorn runs this place for Cassius, I said. This is happening with his approval. Then he'll die alongside whoever's responsible. Not yet. I grabbed Thorne's arm before he could storm off. If you move against them now, without proof, they'll claim you're showing favoritism to your mate. You said it yourself, your power is already resented. This could trigger a civil war. I don't care. Well, I do. I released him. These Omegas have been suffering for years. If your justice gets bogged down in pack politics, it won't help them. What do you suggest? I looked at the medallion, at Vera's body, at the prisoners watching us with hollow eyes. Let them charge me with dark magic. Let the trial proceed. And I'll expose Cassius Darkwater for what he really is, in front of the entire Continental Pack Council. That's suicide. Or it's perfect. I smiled without humor. Because who's going to believe the freak Omega who rejected the Alpha King? Luna. Unless I prove I'm not a freak at all. I touched the medallion. Unless I show them exactly what I am. Thorne stared at me for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, he smiled. It was sharp and dangerous and made him look younger. You're either the bravest or the most reckless wolf I've ever met. I told you, I said. Probably both. This is insane. Yeah. I glanced at Vera's body one last time. But she was trying to tell me something before she died. Something about Cassius. That he's not what he seems. What does that mean? I don't know. But I was going to find out. I need to examine her body. Her memories. She's dead. That doesn't matter. I held up my hand, and Thorne's eyes widened as he saw the faint shimmer around my fingers. When I touch things people have handled, I can see their memories. Their thoughts. And corpses are just objects that used to be people. That's not possible. Psychic abilities only exist in Crimson Wolves, I finished. Yeah. I'm starting to figure that out. I moved toward Vera's cell. Thorn followed, unlocking it with a key from the guard station. Together, we stepped inside. Vera's body was still warm. I knelt beside her, my hand hovering over her forehead. "This is dark magic," Thorn said quietly. "This is survival." I pressed my palm against her skin. The visions hit like a freight train. Memories, decades of them, flooding through my mind faster than I could process. I saw Vera young and strong, running through forests with other crimson wolves. Saw the hunters coming, saw her sisters fall one by one. Saw the blood ritual that had corrupted her power, forced her into submission. Saw her awakening 40 years later, her power surging back. And saw Cassius Darkwater standing over her with silver chains and a smile. But underneath his face, I saw something else. A flicker. Like a mask slipping. For just a moment, Vera's memory showed me Cassius's true face. It was Oren's. No, not Oren's. The same silver eyes, but younger. Crueler. A face I'd seen in Sienna's memories, the one the dark voice had called traitor. The same face as the stranger who'd given me the medallion. My eyes snapped open. I fell back, gasping. "What did you see?" Thorn demanded. "Cassius Darkwater," I whispered. "He's not who he claims to be. He's one of the ones who killed the Crimson Wolves. 300 years ago. And he's still alive. Still hunting us." "That's impossible." "Is it?" I looked at him. "You felt the power in this medallion. You've seen what I can do. Why is immortality so hard to believe?" Thorn had no answer for that. But Vera's final warning echoed in my mind. "He's coming for you, the one who killed us all. He's in this pack. Not Cassius. Someone else. Someone who'd orchestrated my arrest, who'd poisoned Vera, who wanted me dead before I could fully awaken. Someone who knew exactly what I was and feared it enough to kill." I looked at the medallion, at the shifting symbols that seemed to pulse with increasing urgency. Time was running out. The trial would begin tomorrow. And if I didn't figure out how to fully awaken my power before then, I'd die in that courtroom. Or worse, I'd become another experiment in Cassius Darkwater's eternal quest for power. "Help me train," I said to Thorn. "Tonight. Whatever I can learn, whatever I can control. Help me become strong enough to survive tomorrow." "Why would I do that?" "Because your wolf recognized me as your equal. Your true mate." I stood, facing him fully. "And deep down, you know I'm the only one who's never been afraid of you. Who's never bowed. Who's never wanted anything from you except to be left alone." Something shifted in his expression. "If I help you," he said slowly, "and you survive this, will you give the bond a chance?" It was a fair question. An honest one. I thought about what Vera had said. A crimson wolf never submits, even to destiny. "If I survive," I said, "I'll give you a choice. Accept me as an equal, a true partner, not a subordinate mate, or walk away. And if I choose to walk away? Then at least we'll both know the bond was real enough to be worth rejecting." Thorn laughed. It was genuine, surprised, and utterly unexpected. "You really are insane," he said. "Is that a yes?" He held out his hand. "It's a yes." I took it, and the moment our skin touched, I felt it, the faintest flicker of the bond, trying to form. Not complete, not yet. But possible. "Let's go train a crimson wolf," Thorn said. "And tomorrow, we'll burn this whole corrupt system to the ground." I smiled, and for the first time since arriving at Silvercrest Academy 6 years ago, I felt something other than fear. I felt dangerous. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. Thorn didn't ask permission. One moment I was in my cell, still reeling from Vera's memories and the impossible truth about Cassius Darkwater. The next, the dungeon door exploded inward in a shower of splintered wood and twisted metal. 4 guards went flying. Thorn strode through the wreckage like an avenging god, his eyes blazing gold, his power rolling off him in waves that made every wolf in the cells whimper and bare their throats. Except me. What are you doing? I gripped the bars. You can't just. I can. He ripped my cell door off its hinges with his bare hands. The screech of tortured metal echoed through the stone corridors. And I am. Pack law. Pack law protects poisoners and torturers while condemning the innocent. He grabbed my wrist, his touch sending heat racing up my arm. I found the evidence. Cassius has been dosing his own pack members with a slow-acting toxin, then using you as the scapegoat. The wasting illness wasn't dark magic. It was belladonna mixed with crushed silver. My stomach turned. He poisoned his own people? To frame you. To force a trial where he could legally execute you and take your power. Thorn pulled me toward the stairs. We're leaving. Now. Wait, the other Omegas. My guards are already evacuating them. The ones who can travel will be relocated to safe houses. The ones who can't will receive the best medical care available. His jaw tightened. I'm done playing by rules that only protect the guilty. We emerged from the dungeon into chaos. Students scattered as Thorn's elite guard formed a protective ring around us. Dean Blackthorn was screaming something about authority and consequences, but Thorn's beta, a massive man named Cade, simply picked him up and moved him aside like furniture. Your car is ready, Alpha King, Cade said. But we have a problem. Alpha Cassius has called an emergency pack meeting. He's demanding your presence. Let him demand. Thorn kept moving, pulling me with him. He's threatening to bring formal charges against you for violating pack sovereignty. Cade fell into step beside us. If you leave with her before the investigation is complete, the other alphas will have grounds to challenge your authority. That made Thorn pause. I felt the tension in his grip, saw the muscle ticking in his jaw. This was exactly what Cassius wanted, to force Thorn into choosing between pack law and his mate. Either way, Thorn lost credibility. I have a better idea, I said. Both men looked at me. I don't run. I met Thorn's eyes. I play the role everyone expects. The weak Omega, rescued by her powerful mate. Grateful. Submissive. Everything they think I should be. Absolutely not. Thorn's voice was flat. You're not going back into that viper's nest. I'm not running away from it either. I pulled free of his grip. You said you found evidence against Cassius. But evidence can be disputed, witnesses can be bought. What we need is proof so damning that even the Continental Council can't ignore it. And how do you propose to get that? I touched the medallion beneath my shirt. By being exactly where Cassius wants me, close enough to destroy. Understanding dawned in Thorn's eyes. You want to be bait. I want to be a weapon. I looked past him at the assembled guards, at the academy building where 6 years of torment lived in every stone. You said if I fully awaken as a crimson wolf, I could challenge you for your throne. But that's not what I want. What do you want? Justice. The word tasted like blood and fire. For every Omega who died in those cells. For every student who was bullied into suicide. For every life Cassius Darkwater destroyed in his quest for power. Revenge, Thorn corrected quietly. Is there a difference? He studied me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in his expression. Not disapproval. Respect. No, he finally said. There isn't. The announcement went out within the hour. Luna Ashwood, under the protection of Alpha King Thorn Nightshade, would remain at Silvercrest Academy during the investigation. She would reside in the Alpha Wing, submit to all examinations deemed necessary by the pack healers, and cooperate fully with the inquiry into the alleged dark magic incidents. In other words, I'd play the role of dutiful mate while systematically destroying everyone who'd ever hurt me. The Alpha Wing was everything the Omega dormitories weren't: spacious rooms with actual heating, soft beds, private bathrooms. Thorne gave me the suite next to his own, connected by a door he left conspicuously unlocked. "If you need anything," he said, standing in the doorway between our rooms. "Training. Information. Or just someone to talk to. I need to know how to fight." I dropped my bag on the bed. "Like you. Like an alpha. That takes years of training. Then we'd better get started." He smiled, and it was dangerous. "Tomorrow morning. 5 a.m. Don't be late." "I'm never late." "We'll see." He left, closing the door behind him. I waited until I heard his footsteps retreat before pulling out the medallion. In the lamplight, the symbols seemed to writhe. I traced one with my finger, and felt a pulse of warmth. "Your bloodline was never meant to kneel." "Then teach me not to," I whispered. The medallion flared once, and I felt something unlock in my chest. Not power, exactly. Permission. Permission to be dangerous. 5 a.m. came early. I'd barely slept, my mind racing with Vera's memories and the impossible truth about Cassius. When I made it to the private training room Thorne had commandeered, he was already there, stripped to the waist and glistening with sweat from his warm-up. I tried not to stare. Failed. Problem? He raised an eyebrow. "Just wondering if you always train shirtless or if this is some kind of dominance display." "Can't it be both?" He tossed me a training jacket. "Put this on. We're starting with basics." "I don't need basics. I need." He moved. 1 second he was across the room, the next he had me pinned against the wall, his hand around my throat, not choking, but controlling. His body pressed against mine, every hard plane and angle. "You need basics," he said quietly, his breath warm against my ear. "Because the first person who attacks you won't give you time to think. They'll move like this. Fast. Brutal. And if you hesitate, you die." My heart hammered. Not from fear. From something far more dangerous. Lesson 1, Thorne continued. Never let your opponent control your breathing. How do you break this hold? I thought about struggling, about using strength I didn't have. Then I thought about what made me different. What made me dangerous. I closed my eyes and reached out with the psychic sense the medallion had awakened. Thorne's pressure points. The vulnerable spots even an alpha couldn't fully protect. The places where a well-placed strike would force him to release. I moved. Elbow to his solar plexus, simultaneously stomping on his instep. He grunted, his grip loosening just enough for me to twist free and put distance between us. Good. He was breathing harder. You used your abilities instead of relying on strength. That's smart. You're not mad? Why would I be mad? You did exactly what a crimson wolf should do, used every advantage available. He circled me slowly. Again. This time I won't go easy. We trained for 3 hours. Brutal, exhausting, and charged with a tension that had nothing to do with combat. Every time our bodies collided, every time his hands corrected my stance or showed me a new hold, I felt the mate bond trying to form. A pull in my chest, a warmth spreading through my limbs. And from the way Thorne's eyes darkened when he touched me, he felt it too. Enough, he finally said, stepping back. You're fast. Faster than most wolves I've trained. But you rely too much on your abilities. What happens if the medallion's power fails? Then I adapt. Show me. He attacked without warning. I barely dodged the first strike, felt the breeze of his fist passing my cheek. The second caught me in the ribs, driving the air from my lungs. The third. I stopped thinking and moved on instinct. Dropped low, swept his legs. He was too well trained to fall, but it put him off balance enough for me to get inside his guard. My palm struck his chest, right over his heart. The world stopped. I'd meant to push him back. Instead, the moment we connected, a surge of power exploded from the medallion. Not violent. Not harmful. But overwhelming. Our minds crashed together. I felt everything. His wolf, massive and ancient, recognizing mine as its equal. His loneliness, the weight of wearing a crown no one else could bear. His fear that if I fully awakened, I'd see him as just another male trying to control me. And underneath it all, a truth that shook me: he was falling in love with me. Not because of the mate bond. Because of who I was, sharp and cunning and refusing to break under pressure. The connection severed as suddenly as it had formed. We stumbled apart, both gasping. What, Thorn managed, was that? I don't know. My hand was still tingling. The medallion, it's never done that before. That wasn't just psychic reading. That was, he ran a hand through his hair. That was a bond trial. Something mated pairs used to test compatibility before completing the bond. We're not mated. No. His eyes met mine. But we could be. If you chose it. The air between us crackled. I should step back. Should put distance between us. Should remember that the mate bond was exactly what my ancestors had died to escape: a leash, a cage, a way for males to control powerful females. But Thorn wasn't trying to control me. He was teaching me to be stronger. To fight. To survive. I need more time, I said finally. To figure out what I feel versus what the bond wants me to feel. Fair enough. He picked up his shirt. Just don't take too long. Because if you fully awaken and decide you want me, I'm not sure either of us will survive it. He left before I could respond. I stood alone in the training room, my body aching, my mind racing, and my heart doing things I didn't want to examine too closely. Time to focus on what I could control: revenge. I started with Darius. That afternoon, I requested access to the Academy's financial records, a seemingly innocent request from someone trying to clear their name by examining PAC accounts for evidence of embezzlement that might point to the real dark magic user. Thorn's influence opened doors. Within hours, I had everything I needed. And Darius had been sloppy. He'd been skimming from the PAC scholarship fund for years, funneling money into offshore accounts through a series of shell companies. Not enough to raise red flags individually, but cumulatively. Nearly $500,000 stolen from Omegas who needed it most. I compiled the evidence, anonymized it, and sent it directly to the Continental PAC Council's fraud division. Then I moved on to Sienna. Her secret was harder to find, buried in medical records that should have been sealed. But the medallion's power was growing stronger, and when I touched her mother's jewelry box, conveniently left in a common area, I saw everything. The affair. The rogue wolf who was Sienna's real father. The payoff to keep him quiet. The falsified paternity tests that had made Cassius claim her as his daughter. Sienna's entire identity was a lie. I gathered the evidence: medical records, DNA results, testimony from PAC members who'd witnessed the affair, and delivered it to the same journalist who'd first covered my Omega Freak video. Funny how quickly public opinion could turn when you gave them a better story. Within 3 days, Darius was arrested. Sienna was publicly disowned by Cassius. And the Academy's cruel hazing traditions were exposed across every major PAC news outlet. The students who'd filmed my humiliation now scrambled to delete evidence of their own crimes. The teachers who'd looked the other way suddenly faced investigations. The entire social hierarchy that had sustained 6 years of torment began to crumble. And I watched it burn with a smile. "You're enjoying this too much," Thorn observed one evening. We were in his study, reviewing PAC law documents. Or rather, he was reviewing. I was cataloging my enemies. Is there a right amount to enjoy destroying people who tried to kill you? Fair point. He set down his papers. But revenge has a cost. The more you hurt them, the more desperate they'll become. And desperate wolves are dangerous. Let them be desperate. I traced the rim of my coffee cup. I'm more dangerous. Luna. They would have killed me, Thorn. Left me bleeding in the snow and laughed about it. Posted it online for entertainment. I met his eyes. I'm not going to apologize for making them face consequences. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to be careful. He moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small space. Because I'm starting to care what happens to you. And that makes me vulnerable. The great Alpha King, vulnerable? I tried to sound mocking, but it came out softer than I intended. What would the pack say? That I'm an idiot for falling for someone who might challenge me for my throne. His hand came up, cupping my cheek. And they'd be right. I should pull away. Should maintain distance. Should remember that this was dangerous for so many reasons. Instead, I leaned into his touch. I don't want your throne, I whispered. What do you want? You, I almost said. But that was the mate bond talking. Wasn't it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Maya, need to see you. Urgent. Meet me at the old greenhouse. I frowned. Maya needs me. At this hour? Thorn checked his watch. It's nearly midnight. She's my only friend. If she says it's urgent, I grabbed my jacket. I'm coming with you. No. I stopped him with a hand on his chest. If we both show up, it'll look like I can't do anything without you. Let me handle this. Luna. I'll be fine. The greenhouse is on Academy grounds. What's the worst that could happen? Famous last words. The greenhouse was dark when I arrived, the glass panels reflecting moonlight like scattered diamonds. The door hung open, creaking in the wind. Maya? I stepped inside cautiously. The air smelled wrong, not flowers and earth, but something chemical. Bitter. Wolfsbane. I spun to run, but the door slammed shut. Silver bars dropped across the exit, sealing me inside. Lights blazed on, blinding. When my vision cleared, I saw them. Cassius Darkwater stood in the center of the greenhouse, flanked by a dozen of his personal guards. His face wore an expression of smug satisfaction. And at his feet, bound and gagged, was Maya. Thank you for coming, Miss Ashwood, Cassius said pleasantly. We have so much to discuss. Let her go. My voice came out steadier than I felt. She has nothing to do with this. On the contrary. She has everything to do with this. He nudged Maya with his boot. Friendship. Loyalty. All the weaknesses that make you predictable. The guard spread out, cutting off any escape routes. I counted weapons, silver-coated batons, tranquilizer guns, nets weighted with silver mesh. They prepared for me. You poisoned your own pack members, I said, buying time. Framed me for it. What's your endgame, Cassius? Cassius? He laughed. Is that what you think? That I'm simply an ambitious alpha? His face rippled. The features I'd known shifted, rearranged. And suddenly I was looking at someone else entirely, someone with silver eyes and a face I'd seen in Vera's memories. The stranger who'd given me the medallion. No. That wasn't right either. You're confused, he said, reading my expression. Good. Confusion makes you weak. Distraction makes you vulnerable. And I need you weak and vulnerable for what comes next. He pulled out a knife. Silver blade, etched with symbols similar to the medallions. I'm going to cut your friend's throat, he said conversationally. And you're going to use your Crimson Wolf abilities to try to save her. The moment you do, the moment you manifest that power publicly, I'll have legal grounds to execute you as an abomination. The Alpha King won't let you. The Alpha King will have no choice. Pack law is clear, any wolf demonstrating corrupted bloodline abilities must be put down. His smile widened. Even a mate. He pressed the knife to Maya's throat. No. The word tore from my throat. Then stop me, Cassius, or whoever he really was, purred. Save your friend. Show me what you really are. The blade bit into skin. Blood welled, bright red against Maya's brown throat. Something inside me snapped. Power exploded outward. The greenhouse shattered. Glass erupted in all directions, but it didn't touch me, couldn't touch me, because I was transforming. Not into my wolf form. Into something else. My bones cracked and reformed, but I stayed bipedal. Fur erupted across my skin, silver-tipped and black as midnight. My spine elongated, my muscles swelled. I grew taller, larger, until I towered over even Cassius's biggest guards. My eyes blazed crimson. This was what Vera had tried to become. What the Crimson Wolves had been before they were hunted. Not just alpha females. Something more. My dominance rolled out like a psychic tsunami. The guards dropped to their knees, whimpering, necks bared. They couldn't help it, their wolves recognized a power greater than any they'd ever felt. Even Cassius stumbled back, his silver eyes wide with something I'd never seen in them before. Fear. I moved. Faster than should be possible in this form. My hand closed around his throat, lifting him off the ground. Let her go. My voice was wrong, layered, echoing, carrying the weight of centuries. Cassius dropped the knife. I threw him aside like trash, turning to Maya. The ropes burned when I touched them, silver-lined, but I didn't care. I tore them apart, pulling the gag from her mouth. Luna, she gasped. Your eyes. It's still me. But even as I said it, I felt the power burning through my veins. Too much. Too fast. The medallion was cracking, spiderwebs of light spreading across its surface. I had seconds before it shattered. Seconds before this much power tore me apart from the inside. Run, I told Maya. Get Thorn. Tell him. Pain exploded through my chest. The medallion finally shattered, pieces falling to the ground in a shower of silver light. And with it, my transformation reversed violently. I collapsed, every nerve ending on fire. Through the haze of agony, I saw Cassius struggling to his feet. Saw him pull something from his jacket, a syringe filled with luminescent liquid. Fascinating, he said, limping toward me. Even more powerful than she predicted. But power without control is just chaos. And chaos can be contained. He knelt beside me, the syringe poised over my throat. And that's when the visions hit. Not from touching him. From the shattered medallion, its pieces scattered around me. All its stored memories released at once. I saw Aurora Nightshade. Thorn's sister, supposedly executed 5 years ago for being an abomination. But she wasn't dead. She was standing in a dark room, giving orders to someone I couldn't see. Give Luna the medallion. Let it awaken her power, but not all at once. She needs to be strong enough to challenge him, but not so strong she can't be controlled. And if she refuses to help us kill the Alpha King? Then she dies. Either way, Thorn Nightshade falls. Aurora's face filled my vision, her silver eyes identical to Cassius's. No. Not identical to Cassius's. Cassius was Aurora. Different face. Different form. But the same soul, the same power. She'd orchestrated everything. The attack that awakened me. The trial. The evidence against Cassius, planted to make Thorn break me out, to make him vulnerable. I wasn't a weapon to destroy corruption. I was a weapon to destroy Thorn. The syringe bit into my skin. Darkness swallowed me whole. And the last thing I heard before consciousness fled was Aurora's laughter, echoing through the shattered greenhouse like breaking glass. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. I woke to the sound of shouting. My body ached like I'd been torn apart and badly reassembled. The ceiling above me was ornate, carved wood and gold leaf. Not a cell. Not the greenhouse. Somewhere else entirely. You cannot protect her. A voice boomed, male and furious. Pack law is absolute. The Crimson bloodline was declared extinct for a reason. Then the law is wrong. Thorne's voice, colder than I'd ever heard it. And I'll change it. You'll start a civil war. Then so be it. I tried to sit up. Pain lanced through my chest where the medallion had shattered. My hand went to my throat, searching for the familiar weight. Gone. Easy. Maya appeared beside me, pressing a cool cloth to my forehead. Relief flooded her face. Thank God. We thought you might not wake up. Where? The Alpha King's personal estate. He brought you here 3 days ago, after. She swallowed hard. After you destroyed half the academy grounds. 3 days. I'd been unconscious for 3 days. The council? In emergency session. They've been here for 2 days, demanding your execution. Maya's voice dropped. Luna, they saw what you became. Everyone saw. The videos are everywhere. They're calling you an abomination, a threat to pack stability. They want you dead. I pushed myself up despite the pain. Through the open door, I could see into the next room where Thorne stood surrounded by 12 alphas, the Continental Pack Council. Their faces were twisted with fear and anger. She must be executed, a female alpha was saying. Her hair was steel gray, her eyes hard as flint. We cannot allow a crimson wolf to live. The last time, your ancestors committed genocide, Thorne interrupted. Murdered an entire bloodline because they were afraid of strong women. Forgive me if I don't consider that precedent worth following. It wasn't murder, it was survival. Another alpha, younger, with scars covering half his face. The Crimson Wolves challenged the natural order. They refused to submit, corrupted other Omegas into rebellion. They would have destroyed everything we built. Everything you built on the backs of suppressed bloodlines, Thorne said quietly. On forced submission. On cruelty disguised as tradition. You defend her because she's your mate, the scarred alpha spat. Your judgment is compromised. My judgment is clear. Thorne's power rolled through the room, making even the other alphas flinch. If you want Luna Ashwood dead, you'll have to go through me first. The silence that followed was deafening. You would start a war, the female alpha said slowly, over one Omega? I would start a war over what's right. Thorne met each of their gazes. And if that makes me unfit to rule, then challenge me. Here. Now. Any of you. No one moved. Because despite their numbers, despite their outrage, they knew the truth, Thorne could kill them all. And they were too afraid to test whether he would. This isn't over, the scarred alpha finally said. He stalked toward the exit, the others following. The council will reconvene. And when we do, we'll have more than words to offer. They left, their threats hanging in the air. Thorne stood alone in the center of the room, his shoulders tense, his hands clenched into fists. He looked like a man barely holding himself together. You shouldn't have done that, I said from the doorway. He turned, and the relief that flooded his face was so raw it made my chest ache. You're awake. He crossed the space between us in 3 strides, his hands coming up to cup my face. I thought, when the medallion shattered and you collapsed. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're at the center of a political firestorm that could tear the packs apart. His thumbs brushed my cheekbones. And I don't care. I'd burn it all down before I let them touch you. Thorne. I mean it, Luna. The council, the packs, the entire hierarchy. None of it matters more than, he stopped, jaw clenching. More than you. The mate bond pulled at my chest, trying to complete. 3 days unconscious, and it had grown stronger. I could feel his emotions now, the fear he'd felt watching me nearly die, the rage at the council's demands, the desperate need to keep me safe. And underneath it all, love. Real and fierce and terrifying. "We need to talk," I said quietly. "About Aurora." His expression shuddered. "What about her?" "She's alive. And she's been manipulating everything." I told him what I'd seen in the medallion's final vision. Aurora orchestrating my awakening. Planning to use me as a weapon against him. The truth about Cassius. With each word, Thorn's face grew harder. "My sister died 5 years ago," he said flatly. "I watched her execution myself." "You watched someone's execution. But it wasn't Aurora." I grabbed his hand. "She can change forms, Thorn. Faces. That's how she's been hiding. How she became Cassius Darkwater and infiltrated the academy. That's impossible. Shape-shifting like that would require..." He stopped, understanding dawning. "The power of a crimson wolf. Aurora is like me. Or I'm like her." I looked down at our joined hands. "That's why she gave me the medallion. She wanted to awaken my power, to use me to kill you and absorb your alpha strength." "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why would she? We were close. Before she was revealed as Crimson Wolf, before the execution, we were. Because you didn't save her." The new voice came from the balcony. We both spun. Aurora stood there, bathed in moonlight. She looked exactly like the woman from my vision, silver eyes, sharp features, dark hair flowing to her waist. But she wore Cassius's cruel smile. "Hello, brother," she purred. "Did you miss me?" Thorn moved faster than thought, putting himself between me and Aurora. "You're supposed to be dead." "I was supposed to be a lot of things. Obedient. Submissive. Grateful for the scraps you threw me." She stepped into the room with liquid grace. "But then I awakened as what I truly am. And you let them put me on trial. Let them condemn me. Let them drag me to the execution platform. I tried to save you. You tried to negotiate. To find compromise." Aurora's voice cracked like a whip. "While they called me abomination, called for my death, you stood there and begged them to spare me if I just suppress my power. Become Omega again. Be weak again. I was trying to keep you alive. You were trying to keep your throne." She circled closer. "Because you knew, if I stayed Crimson Wolf, I'd eventually challenge you. And you couldn't let that happen. Better a dead sister than a rival." "That's not true. Isn't it?" Aurora's gaze shifted to me. "Ask yourself, Thorn. When Luna fully awakens, when she becomes everything she's meant to be, what will you do? Let her challenge you? Share your power? Or will you find a way to keep her weak, to keep her dependent, to make sure she never becomes a threat?" "I would never." "You already have." Aurora pulled something from her jacket. The shattered pieces of my medallion, somehow whole again. "You let them throw her in the dungeons. Let her face trial. Stood by while she nearly died, because challenging the council would cost you your throne." "That's not," Thorn started. But Aurora was right. He'd played by the rules, tried to work within the system. And I'd almost died because of it. "I'm offering you a choice, Luna Ashwood." Aurora held out the medallion. "Join me. Help me create a world where Crimson Wolves rule, where Omegas are never subjugated, where males like my brother can never decide our fates. By slaughtering every alpha in the territories," I said flatly. "By taking what's rightfully ours." Her eyes blazed. "They committed genocide against us. They forced our bloodlines into submission. They built their entire civilization on our oppression. Why shouldn't we do the same to them? Because that makes us just like them. It makes us survivors." Aurora moved closer. I've been building an army, Luna. Other Crimson Wolves who survived, who've been waiting for a leader strong enough to unite them. With your power and mine combined, we'd become tyrants. We'd become queens. She stopped inches away. And I can show you how. The mate bond between you and Thorn, it can be weaponized. Complete the bond, absorb his alpha power, then kill him. You'll become unstoppable. Strong enough to challenge any male, to lead our revolution. The room went deathly quiet. You want me to kill him? My voice was barely a whisper. I want you to free yourself. Aurora's smile was gentle, almost sisterly. The mate bond is just another cage, Luna. Another way to control you. But if you take his power and end him, you'll never be controlled again. I looked at Thorn. His face was carefully blank, but I felt his emotions through the bond, fear that I might actually consider it, mixed with a terrible understanding. He wouldn't stop me if I tried. Wouldn't even fight back. He loved me that much. No, I said. Aurora's expression hardened. Then you choose slavery. I choose my own path. I stepped away from Thorn, standing between them. You want me to become a monster to fight monsters. To perpetuate the cycle of violence and oppression. But there's another way. There is no other way. The alphas will never. Then I'll make them. I looked at Thorn. I challenge you for your throne. The words hung in the air like lightning about to strike. Luna, no, Maya gasped from behind me. But Thorn just smiled. Slow and dangerous and proud. Accepted. The council reconvened within hours, drawn by the psychic summons Thorn sent across the territories. Every alpha in the continental packs, every beta of significance, every omega brave enough to witness. They gathered in the great arena at the heart of Thorn's estate. An ancient space carved from living rock, designed for formal challenges. For fights to the death. This is insane, Maya hissed as she helped me into light armor. You can't actually fight him. He's the Alpha King. He'll kill you. He won't. How can you be sure? Because I'm not trying to kill him. I fastened the last buckle. I'm trying to prove something. What? That there's a different way to be strong. The crowd roared as I entered the arena. Thousands of wolves, all come to watch the freak Omega challenge the Alpha King. Some looked excited. Most looked horrified. Thorn was already there, stripped to the waist, his body a roadmap of scars and muscle. He'd fought his way to the throne, killed the previous Alpha King in this very arena. And I was about to fight him with no medallion, no complete Crimson Wolf awakening, nothing but the training he'd given me and the power trying to emerge from my shattered bloodline. The council watched from raised platforms. Aurora stood among them, her expression unreadable. The challenge has been issued and accepted, the female alpha announced. Her voice carried across the arena through amplification magic. Luna Ashwood, Omega of no pack, challenges Alpha King Thorn Nightshade for his throne. The combat will continue until one combatant yields, is incapacitated, or dies. There are no rules, Thorn said quietly, meant only for me. No mercy. If you hold back, you'll die. I'm not planning to hold back. I settled into a fighting stance. Are you? He grinned, and it was feral. Not even a little. The signal came. Thorn moved like lightning. His fist whistled past my head. I'd already dodged, using the psychic sense to predict his movements. But he was ready for that, his kick catching me in the ribs and sending me sprawling. The crowd roared. I rolled, barely avoiding his follow-up strike. His fist cratered stone where my head had been. You're holding back, I gasped, getting to my feet. No. He circled me slowly. I'm giving you a chance to prove yourself. Don't waste it. He attacked again, and this time I was ready. I met his strikes instead of just dodging, redirecting his force, using his momentum against him. The training sessions had taught me his patterns, his tells. But he'd also taught me that patterns could be traps. His next combination came faster, harder. I blocked, parried, countered, and his fist still slipped through my guard, catching my jaw. Pain exploded. Blood filled my mouth. The crowd screamed for my blood. I spat red and smiled. My turn. I attacked with everything I had. Not just physical strikes, but psychic pressure. I pushed into his mind, not to read his thoughts but to disrupt his focus. To make him hesitate, doubt, question. It worked. For 3 seconds. Then his alpha power surged, burning away my psychic attack like fog in sunlight. He grabbed my wrist, twisted, and I felt bones grind. "You're good," he said, breathing hard. "Better than I expected. But you can't beat me with half-formed power. Then I'll beat you with something else." I stopped fighting him. Instead, I fought with him. When he struck, I moved into the blow instead of away, turning his attacks into a dance. When he pressed forward, I pulled him off balance. When he tried to overpower me, I redirected. It was beautiful. Brutal. And utterly unexpected. The crowd went quiet, watching as we moved together like partners instead of enemies. This wasn't a dominance battle. It was something new. "What are you doing?" Thorn asked, and for the first time, he sounded uncertain. Proving that strength isn't just about dominance. I swept his legs, and this time he fell. I followed him down, my hand on his throat. It's about knowing when to fight and when to unite. I could kill him now. The position was perfect. One strike to his exposed throat, and it would be over. Instead, I offered him my hand. The arena went silent. "What is she doing?" Someone whispered. "Is she yielding?" "No," Aurora's voice rang out. "She's making a point." Thorn stared at my outstretched hand. Then, slowly, he took it. I pulled him to his feet. We stood facing each other, both bleeding, both exhausted. "I don't want your throne," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I want to change what the throne means. I want a future where Omegas can challenge for rank without being executed. Where Crimson Wolves aren't hunted but celebrated. Where strength is measured by more than who you can dominate." "That's treason," the scarred Alpha called out. "That's evolution." I looked at the council. "Your system is broken. It's built on genocide and oppression and the systematic crushing of anyone who threatens the hierarchy. And I'm done pretending that's acceptable." "You're one Omega," the female Alpha said coldly. "What makes you think you can change centuries of tradition?" "Because I already have." I gestured to the crowd. "Look at them. They're not seeing an abomination anymore. They're seeing someone who fought the Alpha King to a standstill and chose mercy over murder. Someone who proved that power doesn't require cruelty. Mercy is weakness," the scarred Alpha spat. "Is it?" Thorn spoke now, his voice carrying across the arena. "She defeated me. Had the killing blow. And she chose to spare me. That takes more strength than any execution." He turned to face the council. "I accept Luna Ashwood as my equal co-ruler," he declared. "And I declare a new law. From this day forward, Omega status is no longer permanent. Any wolf may challenge for rank through trials of strength, wisdom, and heart. The Crimson bloodline is no longer forbidden. And suppressed abilities will be awakened, not punished." The crowd erupted. Some in cheers, some in outrage. "You can't just," the female Alpha started. "I can. I did. Challenge me if you disagree." Thorn's eyes blazed gold. "Any of you." No one moved. "Cowards," Aurora said. She stepped down from the platform, her face twisted with rage. "You would accept this? This mockery of everything we suffered for?" "I'm not mocking it," I said. "I'm honoring it. By making sure no one else has to suffer what we did." "That's not enough." Aurora's form rippled, and suddenly she was Cassius again. Then a woman I didn't recognize. Then back to herself. They deserve to burn. All of them. And you, she pointed at me. You had the power to do it. To complete the bond, take his strength, lead our revolution. But you chose him over your own kind. I chose a third option. I held out my hand to Thorn. Not his way. Not your way. Our way. The mate bond flared between us, trying to complete. This time, I didn't fight it. I chose it. Power exploded through the arena. Not violent, not destructive, but overwhelming. The bond snapped into place, and I felt everything, Thorn's alpha strength flowing into me, my crimson power flowing into him. Not one dominating the other, but both enhanced, both amplified. Both equal. My eyes blazed crimson. His blazed gold. And together, we turned to face Aurora. Last chance, I said. Stand down, or we end this. You can't. Aurora's voice was ragged. I have an army. Crimson wolves who've been waiting for this moment. They'll tear this place apart before they let you. They're already gone. Oren stepped out of the crowd, still wearing his groundskeeper disguise. I've been working with them for months, Luna. Showing them your path. Most of them want what you want, not revenge, but justice. A chance to live freely without fear. Aurora's face crumbled. No. They wouldn't, they're mine. They were never yours, I said gently. You were just the only option they had. Until now. She screamed. It was raw and broken and full of centuries of pain. Then she shifted into her wolf form, massive, silver-furred, eyes blazing like mirrors, and launched herself at me. Thorn and I moved as one. Our combined power met her midair, psychic force amplified by alpha strength. She hit an invisible wall and crashed to the ground. Enough, Thorn said. Aurora, this is over. It's never over. She struggled to her feet, bleeding from a dozen wounds. As long as I live, I'll fight you. I'll destroy everything you build. I'll. A blade pierced her chest from behind. Aurora gasped, looking down at the silver weapon protruding from her heart. Behind her stood Sienna, her face pale but determined. For what you did to my father, Sienna whispered. The real Cassius. The one you murdered and replaced. Aurora collapsed. Silver-lined blade through the heart, even a crimson wolf couldn't survive that. She looked at me as the light faded from her eyes. You'll regret this. When they turn on you, when they find new ways to chain you, you'll wish you'd burned them all. Maybe, I said quietly. But at least I'll know I tried something different. Aurora died with a smile. Like she'd won something I couldn't see. The aftermath took weeks to sort through. Cassius Darkwater's crimes were exposed, not just the experimentation, but decades of corruption and abuse. The academy was shut down pending complete restructuring. The Omegas who'd been imprisoned were released and given resources for recovery. Darius was stripped of his pack membership and sentenced to community service. Sienna, despite killing Aurora, was given mercy. I'd argued for it myself. She'd acted to avenge her real father, and she'd done what I couldn't, ended Aurora's threat permanently. Why did you save me? Sienna asked one afternoon. We were in what would become the new Omega Academy, a place where suppressed bloodlines could safely awaken. Because revenge is empty, I said. And because you made a choice to do the right thing, even when it was hard. I was terrible to you. Yes. I met her eyes. And now you get to spend the rest of your life making up for it. Consider it a different kind of sentence. She nodded slowly. I can live with that. The Continental Council accepted the new laws, reluctantly, but they accepted them. Thorn's power, combined with mine, was too overwhelming to challenge. And slowly, Omegas began stepping forward. Requesting trials. Proving themselves. The hierarchy was changing. 3 months after the challenge, Thorn found me in our shared study. I was reviewing applications for the new academy, trying to decide which students to accept first. "You're working too hard," he said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "Someone has to rebuild the world. We have people for that." He pressed a kiss to my neck. "Take a break." I leaned back against him, feeling the mate bond hum contentedly between us. It was still strange, still new. But it felt right. "I'm pregnant," I said. Thorn went very still. "What?" 2 weeks along, according to the healers. They said. I turned to face him. "They said the baby will be born with full Crimson Wolf power. No suppression, no corruption. Just pure bloodline ability." His expression was unreadable. "And are you happy about this?" "Terrified," I admitted. "But yes. Happy." He pulled me close, and I felt his relief through the bond. "We'll protect her. Keep her safe from anyone who'd try to hurt her for what she is." "Her? I'm calling it." He smiled against my hair. "And she'll be extraordinary. Just like her mother." I let myself believe it. Let myself imagine a future where my daughter grew up free, powerful, unafraid. Where she never had to kneel, never had to hide what she was. A future we were building, one hard choice at a time. That night, I stood on the balcony of our estate, looking out over the territories. My hand rested on my still flat belly, and for a moment, my eyes flashed crimson in the darkness. I didn't notice the figure watching from the shadows. She was ancient, older than the estate, older than the packs, older than the memories of anyone living. Her hair was white as bone, her eyes red as blood. And she smiled as she watched Luna Ashwood, the first Crimson Wolf to claim her power in 3 centuries. "Well done, child," she whispered to the wind. "You've done exactly as I foresaw. Awakened the bloodline. United the packs. Conceived the weapon I need." She'd been sleeping for 300 years, waiting for this moment. Waiting for someone strong enough, clever enough, desperate enough to break the curse she'd placed on her own bloodline. The curse that had hidden them, protected them, kept them safe while the world forgot what Crimson Wolves truly were. But now the time for hiding was over. Now, her great-great-great-granddaughter carried the child who would restore their bloodline to its rightful place. "Enjoy your victory, Luna Ashwood," the ancient wolf said. "Because when your daughter is born, everything changes." And this time, her smile widened, showing too many teeth. "This time, we won't be content with equality." She vanished into shadow, leaving only the faintest trace of power behind. A warning. A promise. A beginning. In her sleep, Luna's hand tightened protectively over her belly, and she dreamed of red eyes and silver fur and a future that burned bright as crimson fire. The Crimson Wolves were awakening. And the world would never be the same. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.